investment 2 years ago to fund the Munis software program. We have identified that we need some additional licenses and training. We also identified the fact that we need to pay an additional sum of money, totaling about $9,900 for the cash receipts package. There's an amount of money that's needed for our year-end or W-2 conversions, and about $6,000 in training time is needed. It should be noted that this is something that is used by both the town and the schools. So we do have a system that is compatible. There's not two separate systems that exist anymore. And the Munis system is quite effective in terms of the improvement in the municipal cities and towns in terms of its reliability. Next item is with the water department, $64,000. Bear with me for a second. Project would provide for the upgrading of emergency power supplies at the water department facilities. Presently, there are insufficient emergency power supplies in the event of a power failure. It would also provide for what it does again is provide emergency power supplies at some of the town's well sites and water treatment plants. And the intent of it is to provide for extended power coverage during times when there are serious outages in town. The town has done some upgrades of its various water treatment facilities. This would provide that none of the facilities are in jeopardy during times where there are serious outages. So we'll provide for temporary power at all of these different locations. The $50,000 for municipal lighting fixtures and controls for town buildings. This is a result of efforts of the Energy Study Committee. This committee was appointed by the Board of Selectmen several years ago. They've been pursuing an energy audit. All of the town municipal buildings and school buildings have been audited. As a result of those energy audits, there have been some things identified with replacement of lighting fixtures and some of the controls that would have a very short payback period. This would provide funding to effect some of those changes in town buildings, allow us to save some money and replace fixtures that right now are currently energy inefficient. And then the last item that's included on the Board of Selectmen's proposal is $150,000 for the road improvement program. This reaffirms the town's commitment that it's made in past years to keep town roads in good condition. It would provide for paving and reconstruction of roadways, which are non-Chapter 90 eligible. Chapter 90 money can only be used on major connector roads or major infrastructure in town. This provides the component that would allow us to do some of the local roads, the small roads in the community that otherwise would be neglected. We have a new public works director that's on board, and those of you will be sitting down and you'll be analyzing which town roads should be prioritized for these funds. And I can tell you that the town's roads in general are in pretty fair shape, with several exceptions, but most of them are in pretty good shape. We need to continue to make a considerable capital investment going forward. You'll note that the original request for this was $250,000. And this represents the amount of money that the town can really afford at this time. To sum up the capital improvement plan, what we've done is we've based all of our borrowings on what we can afford. So what we've done is we've taken an approach that we know what we're retiring the debt going forward. We have a debt schedule worked out. So what we do is we go ahead and we undertake new projects. We know what the borrowing costs for those projects will be going forward. The goal in all of this is not to provide a net increase in borrowing going forward, to keep our debt stable and level, not to let it drop off so that we continue to invest in our capital infrastructure. And this plan does that. We're going to be retiring about $143, $144 $844,000 in debt service in 2011. And some of the amounts that you see here, they look quite large. When you look at the borrowing schedule initially those years fit within the amount of debt that we're going to retire. So, Mr. Moderator, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time. If you have any questions, I'll be available to answer those.
I'd like to give the school committee an opportunity to speak to their specific capital items, and doing that on their behalf is Carl Nelson. Mr. Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. There are 5 items on the school capital request. I'll start in the order that they're shown. The first one is a pickup truck. Presently, the school department utilizes a 2001 Ford Brown utility truck that has about 75,000 miles on it. It acts as a primary plowing, snow removal equipment vehicle for us, and handles a lot of ground work as well. And it's reaching a point now where repairs are getting rather expensive, and we recommend a $36,000 in-kind replacement. Second item is what we hope to be the completion of our school security project. The amount shown in free cash is $41,500. And what this would do is begin by improving the exterior lighting at 4 of our schools, the 5th being the Bachelor School, which doesn't require improvement in exterior lighting. There are many dark spots around some of our present buildings. We would like to enhance the lighting with energy-efficient replacements. In addition, we wish to install audible door alarms on exit doors in our school so that it's clear if the door is open. Otherwise, we're compromising the entire building security envelope. The third item is here at the high school. During the renovation 20 years ago, there were double-hung windows installed in many of our classrooms, and many of these double-hung windows, unfortunately, have failed. The mechanisms that allow the springs and the sashes to move up and down are broken, such that we've had to bolt them because of the safety issues inherent to a sash door coming down on your finger. So, unfortunately, we have the ability to aerate classrooms, yet we have to bolt these windows, and we seek to repair these windows here at the high school for the amount of $7,500. Fourthly, we seek $15,000 to provide air conditioning to our network operations center here at the high school. It's an interior space, and when high schools were built many years ago, you didn't have network operations centers that had the ability to provide cooler ventilation. And we're compromising our equipment, and we seek to add air conditioning to the network operations center and adjacent computer lab. The amount there is $15,000. Lastly, and the largest amount is a request to bond the amount of $150,000 to repair our Midland High School roofs. This comes about because we operate under the direction of our supervisor, Buildings and Grounds, Wayne Hardacre, a pretty aggressive preventive maintenance process here, and we have inspections of our roofs on an annual basis. And we have, in recent years, started to see some of our rubber roofs eliminating, and we're seeing bubbles causing coming up throughout the C wing here at the high school and section of the middle school. So to prevent further deterioration and higher costs, we seek to repair the rubber roofs here at the high school. That's on $50,000 that will be bought. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Discussion. Mr. Jervy.
Steve Jervy, 21 Woodland Drive. Mr. Valiakonis may have started to speak to my question. I was wondering about the decision to transfer items 10, 11, 12, and 13 from free cash instead of bonding them. It seems to me that bonding the additional $100,000 would, at a time when bonding rates have to be very makes sense and would leave the town with more flexibility, leaving that extra money in free cash.
Mr. Valiakonis.
Thank you, Mr. Jervy. I think as I alluded to in my comments, the town is trying to fit a borrowing number within the amount of debt that we are retiring and not exceed that. It was determined fairly early in the process when we had free cash that we would establish a decision where we would go ahead and purchase some things from free cash that normally we wouldn't borrow for. For example, police cruisers typically are not something that has a useful life of 5 years. We use that as our standard. So we normally wouldn't want to borrow for police cruisers because they're typically out of service chief 3 years unfold. So we kind of look at that as a standard, that if it's something that's going to be out of service within a few years, we would resist borrowing for it. And so that's really the basis behind the decisions that we've made as we looked at each individual request. We made a decision as to whether it's something that we want to borrow for. We've consulted with our fiscal advisors because we don't make these decisions by ourselves. We make them in concert with our fiscal advisor or bankers based upon what items they consider to be eligible for bonding, and we heed their advice when we put our plan together.
I had actually specifically not mentioned cruisers because I understood that. I had asked specifically about items 10, 11, 12, and 13. I'm wondering if those couldn't be bonded.
Again, certainly if town meeting decides you wish to bond, you can do that. Again, our goal was to use a mix of free cash and borrowing in terms of this proposal. That's what our goal was. It makes some sense from a fiscal idea not to use too much dependence on borrowing because it's something that you ultimately will end up paying for. But certainly as I look at the list, the pickup truck would be an item that you could borrow for. The improvements to the school security system certainly could be something that you could borrow for. My recollection was the town borrowed in the past would have made a very large capital investment in the school security system. You probably would not borrow for the work to the windows because it's something that appears to be more of a maintenance or repair item. And the air conditioning is certainly something that you would borrow for. So 3 out of the 4 would be eligible to borrow.
Mr. Moderator, I move to amend Article 10 by changing the source of funding for items 10, 11, and 13 to borrowing.
Yeah, that writing is good. We have an amendment to change the method of funding for items 10, 11, and 13 from free cash to borrowing. On the issue of the borrowing source for 10, 11, and 13, does the Board of Selectmen wish to make a recommendation?
The Board of Selectmen does not recommend unanimously.
Does the Finance Committee wish to make a recommendation on the amendment?
The Finance Committee does not recommend.
Does the School Committee wish to make a recommendation?